Hey everyone, welcome to the inaugural edition of Fast Fridays, where you're going to get your weekly automotive news all in one place. So let's dig in. All that fear that the next generation. Man, this is going to be hard. Okay guys, I've been going through the script like I don't know how many times, and I just promise you it's going to get better. I'm hoping that this will become your weekly source of automotive news. I'm going to be reading a bit because I'm not sure how to present this information yet, so just stick with me. But let's get into it. The new Ford Mustang was released this past week. Any fear of electrification can be laid to rest because they're bringing back all new versions of the 2.3 liter EcoBoost Turbo 4 and the Coyote 5 liter V8. Apparently the engineers at Ford were targeting 100 horsepower per liter, so that means potentially 500 horsepower or more for the V8. They're also including an interesting performance handbrake, which they're calling a drift brake, that's apparently competition ready, so that'll be fun. The option list looks like it's going to be really deep. Limited slip differential, extra oil cooling, manual transmission, active exhaust, active suspension. It looks like they're targeting specifically the enthusiast, and they're just kind of looking right into the face of environmental progress and letting out a big old fart. Also this week, Ferrari just unveiled its new Persegue, their first four-seater, four-door sports car. They're calling it a sports car because they said they'd never make an SUV, but let's be honest, it's an SUV. It has a beautiful, huge clamshell bonnet that covers their 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12, which sits behind the front axle to keep the center of gravity nice and tight. It'll produce 715 horsepower and 528 pound-foot and has a red line of 8,250 RPM, and it'll do 0 to 62 in 3.3 seconds. It has a very trick suspension with cutting-edge technology, no anti-roll bars. It has electric motor at each corner, not to help the powertrain, but to help the suspension. The interior is beautiful and very modern, and priced at over $400,000. It may not be a sports car, but it definitely is a supercar. And just to round up the rest of the week in car news, there's a few special editions coming out. The Dodge Charger and Challenger are wrapping up production. They announced that they were going to have 7 last call special editions. They've already released 4 of them. So this week they announced the 5th one, which is called the Dodge Charger King Daytona, which was inspired by a '69 Charger owned by William Big Willie Robinson. He was an icon of the West Coast drag racing scene in the 60s and 70s. It's mostly aesthetic changes, but they're going to retune the supercharged 6.2 liter from the SRT Hellcat Red Eye to 807 horsepower. One more special edition will come out next week, and the last one is targeted for SEMA in November. Also, the Chrysler 300C is ending production. They're going to stuff a more powerful Hemi engine into it and some other upgrades. A special edition Range Rover Defender is coming out to celebrate the 75-year history of Land Rover. Jeep announced a special edition Wrangler Willys 4xe, which will combine a little bit more off-road ability as well as that vintage flair with that hybrid power plant. And Honda will be coming out with a new Trail Sport edition of their Pilot. So a more off-road capable Pilot with skid plates, a retuned off-road suspension, and an expanded all-wheel drive system. In racing news, some bad news from the F1 world. As you might know, Porsche was in talk with Red Bulls for a new joint entry into the 2026 season of F1, but that has come to naught. Porsche was hoping to be the motor supplier for Red Bull, but Red Bull didn't like the idea of a split shareholding of the company and didn't want to relinquish their autonomy in big decisions. Also, Red Bull is developing their own engine for the 2026 season, and they were looking more for a power plant partner. And with all things F1, all the different factors playing in this whole scenario, with Honda's interest of jumping back into F1, Porsche's sister company Audi supplying the engines for the Sauber team, and the previous Porsche boss Oliver Blume being promoted to the CEO of Volkswagen Group, who knows what the near future will hold. Also, a quick note that Ford will be returning to LeMans in 2024 with their new Mustang GT3 racer. Finally, in automotive tech, BMW has announced some information about their new EV batteries. Designed from the ground up to work with their new class architecture for 2024 and beyond. Apparently these batteries will be 50% cheaper, 20% more energy dense, 30% faster to charge, and yield 30% more range, all while producing 60% less carbon dioxide. That's it. First edition of Fast Fridays is over. This weekend is the Detroit Motor Show after a 2-year hiatus because of coronavirus. So come back next week and I'll give you a roundup of what happened there. Other than that, have a great weekend, everyone.